back to another episode of Self Care Sundays. You're with Coach Davis, and so today I want to talk with you all about three different things for today. And so we are looking at what's going on in the mind, and so anxiety and overthinking. We're also going to talk about me time versus me in time. And then three, I'm going to share with you some very important knowledge and wisdom that I've read. And The Greatest You, this book I recently finished, and I really love from one of my mentors, Trent Shelton. And so right now, I just want to go about talking about anxiety and overthinking and where does it stem from. Stress is the emotional or physical tension of a drought or even something that's being brought about your life in an event that makes you feel frustrated, angry, or even nervous in a sense. And so when you have these stressors, they come from many different things. For myself, school was a very big stressor for me in my life. And so I recently just graduated December time. And so now my body is now adjusting to this transition to post grad life. And for me, I do feel a sense of relief or a freedom from stress in a sense. And so anxiety is no longer as high as it used to be in my life and whatnot. And so now when we look at this, I want you to look in your life and say, what is something that is a high stressor in my life and how much control do I have over it? Because you can't control everything that goes on in life. However, if your stress becomes so prominent in your life, it's going to bring about anxiety. And then anxiety is something that is so controlling and that can bring about more than just an emotional toll on you. It can be physical, it can be something that you never imagined. But that is something that you really have to look into and think of. Something that I personally have dealt with for many years and that I didn't really know until I came into college is overthinking. And so overthinking is kind of when you have those moments in your head and you're dwelling about something and it's repeatedly going back and forth in your head, and maybe you are having imaginary conversations that didn't actually happen, or maybe you're even thinking about things that you never said but you wanted to say, or you just keep replaying these events in your head. And so overthinking can be a downfall for you in your life. Overthinking can take away relationships, situations, opportunities from you because you're stuck in that moment in your head and you're trying to navigate on what should have been and what could have been. But the fact is, you're present now in this moment, in this place and time, and you don't have that opportunity anymore with whatever moment you are overthinking about or whatever situation. This can be with a person, a place, a thing. And so that is where you have to become aware of what are the stressors in your life. When you become aware of the stressors in your life, you are able to take control over your daily lifestyle. And so that's why you have to learn how to focus on stress itself, focusing on the stressors that come to attack you. Because if you can prevent the stress, you can prevent the anxiety, and for myself personally, you can prevent the overthinking. Personally, for myself, the root cause of my stress and anxiety all stems from being houseless back for about 5-6 years, starting at the age of 15 for myself. And so I use the language houseless because I had to realize when it came to a point around my 21st birthday, when I started having these conversations more in depth with my parents, that they did the best they could, and we weren't homeless because home is wherever my heart is with my family, and my family doesn't have to be just blood. It can be people who are not blood related. So I was houseless for about 5-6 years back in high school into college. And so for me, a lot of my stress dealt with, I was focused on school, I was focused on classes from 7 to 2:03, but when 2:03 hit and I wasn't doing football, I wasn't doing track, and I didn't have a Laker Express event, where was I going to lay my head down? We had moved from families, relatives, houses to hotel spaces to staying in Atlanta one summer, and there was a lot that was just going on in my head on top of going through puberty as myself and trying to discover myself through those high school years. And so all of that really came into play more when I got to college and I was going through my discovery of my self-identity and my manhood and who Lamont Davis is. And so when I look and I journey into my own self and I see this now, that's where a lot of the time the stress and the anxiety had came into my own life, and that's where it stemmed from me. And so for you all, you have to focus to find out in your you time, where is my stress coming from and what triggers it at that. So for me, I also looked at why I lived on campus for 4 years, 25 technically. And I knew because I had the financial aid package, why not support myself and live on campus? So staying in the dorms for 2 years, going to University Village, then living in 1855 place apartments at Michigan State University. So all of these things I was able to discover in my me time, and even through therapeutic services. This is where my stress and anxiety is stemmed from. Now, when it comes down to overthinking, I looked into some facts from Inc.com, and these are also some that I personally relate with. And so here are 5 real ways that you can realize if you are dealing with overthinking in your life. And so I have the list right here. So number 1, consistently thinking about your worries. What is on your mind and why are you consistently worrying about it? Number 2, not being present at the moment. When you are with other people, or you're in class, or you're in another space, where is your mind at? Is your focus where it needs to be? Is it on the material that you're learning? Is it at work? Is it on your personal writing time or your personal time? Like, where is your focus at that you're not present in that moment? Number 3, reliving past mistakes. We cannot change nor control the past, but what you can do is focus on today, and you can make a better future for yourself starting today than tomorrow. Channel your frustrations into today's preparations. Number 4, thinking about the hidden meanings or in what people say or events that have happened. You got to get rid of the assumptions. Assumptions do nothing but take away those opportunities or those relationships that might be beneficial for you. Assumptions are not a great thing. If you are unsure about something, ask. Feel free to talk over it. Ask for clarification. You're not understanding, but when you start to get in your head and you make those assumptions, it's not beneficial for you or the other individual. So just do yourself a favor and get rid of those assumptions. And then number 5, you have trouble sleeping or concentrating. And so sometimes you can have racing thoughts that are constantly going through your mind, and this is preventing you from being focused or able to rest in the moment. And so these are just 5 things that can help you realize if you're overthinking or not. And I want you all to really think about this and understanding how this is affecting your life, because when you are able to take control over it, from my personal experience, I now have coping mechanisms that I just kind of already snap into when it's like, Lamont, stop thinking about that. It's in the past, it happened. If it truly bothers you, say something within 24 hours. If you don't understand, ask for clarification. These are just simple things that you can do. I want to challenge your thoughts now. I want you to take a moment to think about your day and how often you are spending time thinking about what it is that you have to do next. Because when you take the time to look at each second, minute, hour, you realize how much time you're giving to tomorrow or later today versus actually being present in the moment. Because when we talk about me time versus me in time, me in time is my body, my mind constantly going through this unhealthy routine of I wake up, I go to class, okay, I'm talking on the phone or listening to music in between my next class, or I go to work, you know, I'm on my 15-minute break, and then I'm back at work, clock out at 5 o'clock, go home to dinner, chill, watch TV for a little bit, go to sleep, repeat, whatever your routine is. That's you being in time. That is not you actually living life purposely or having the most value that you can get out of life. And see, when you have me time, 1% of your day is 15 minutes. If you do not have 15 minutes for yourself in a day, I personally, in my opinion, think that's problematic. Take some time out once a week at minimum to figure out yourself and understand what that time alone is with you. And I personally believe that that time does have to be alone. You have to be able to coach yourself and hold yourself accountable, because at the end of the day, we have the best. You can have the best support team, you can have the best network, but if you can't hold yourself to a high standard of believing and achieving and having that faith and that commitment, there's going to be a problematic connection in you achieving your goals and you getting there, because in between there, the only common denominator is you. Himself, and it was like a mentorship conversation for me, and so I do look to him as my mentor now, because the way that he worded things in this book and that shared his own experiences, I was able to connect personally with that. And so 3 of my favorite chapters from this book are what's your purpose, the championship mindset, and then what kind of legacies do you want to leave behind. And so I'll speak briefly on the last chapter, which doesn't ruin anything in the book, but he speaks about leaving a legacy that's better for those around you after you're gone. And so, with that being said, there are good legacies, there's negative legacies. You want to leave a good legacy in the terms of helping to improve the lifestyle for those around you to feel purposeful or influenced to do better in their own lives and create a better life. But then also, I really loved how he talked about we need to address in our own lives that we have been passed down some negative legacies and even dysfunctional ones, and that why would you want to give somebody the same experience or something in your life that hurts you? And so, learning that our families and communities, we might have been passed down something that we didn't choose to be brought into, and we have to change that narrative that there is some dysfunction and negativity in our lives and our families, and that it's important that we don't continue those legacies anymore. But nonetheless, I really think if you are looking for a self-help or self-improvement book, I highly suggest you pick up The Greatest You by Trent Shelton. It's a great read. I loved it. It's going to be on my bookshelf from now on. But that is it for this week's Self-Care Sunday, and I hope you all come back next week. Thank you for joining me. And with that being said, the light and love in me honors the light and love in all of you. Have a good night and a productive week.